Hi, this is the Be Well with Michelle Greenwell podcast. Our heartwarming conversation is designed to lift you on your wellness journey. Grab your cup of tea and enjoy the podcast. Welcome back to Facing Dementia. I'm Dr. Michelle Greenwell. And as always, I am here for this podcast series with the courageous and deeply reflective Laurin Wittig. Laurin, welcome back, and welcome back from your vacation.
Well, thanks for having me back. I always love being here, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. I always learn things about myself when you ask questions.
Today's episode is called Shutting Off the Illness Brain. And so we're going to take a look at vacation from a completely different perspective today. And I hope that it's going to shine a light for all of you on how you start to really look at the choices you make about, one, taking a vacation, and two, where you're going to go on your vacation and whether it's a home vacation or a traveling one, and then what you gain out of that vacation. And so I think it's going to be an interesting way for people to reframe what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Something powerful that happens when we take a vacation when we're ill or have the potential for illness to be around is that it's not going to be a doctor's appointment. It's not going to be diving deep into any topic we can get ourselves down a rabbit hole of. It's not a healing protocol that needs to be followed. This is an opportunity for us to completely break all habits and patterns and truly be on a vacation. And what we're exploring today is this: what happens when you step away from a diagnosis, what happens when you just live, even briefly, free from outcome, prognosis, anticipation, all of those wonderful things. And then how do you bring that freedom back home? And how do you then bring it into the everyday and the patterns that you left behind that you're going to or could easily walk back into, or you could transform? And that's what we want to explore today. As always, though, we've got to begin with a tea. So today we are going to highlight from the Cape Breton Tea Company, the Brador Sunset. But before I do that, Laurin, what tea are you sipping on today?
Well, I brought a little bit of my vacation in today. I am sipping on mango ginger, and it's got all kinds of lovely, wonderful things in it. It's ginger root, cinnamon bark, rooibos tea, mango, licorice root, fennel, passion fruit, cardamom. Yeah, all of that.
Wow.
So it's a kind of a spicy sweet, and it smells of mango, which is one of my favorite things to eat. And I don't eat it at home very often. So it does smell good.
And then you were sharing that on the tea bag is a message to you that comes with your tea. You want to share what you drew for today?
Yeah. So this is, and much of my tea is yogi tea because I don't have access to things like Michelle does right now. But so they put a little message on their tea bags. Let me get that so I don't drip it. And so if you're on video, you can see that it's attached to the end of the tea bag. And I always read them because they're usually very uplifting. And this one today, this morning, and I almost picked a different tea. So, let your thoughts give hope, guidance, and upliftment to all. And that's definitely what I'm here to do. So I love it when you get little messages like that.
It's so beautiful. And I love, what that brings to the tea, and then being able to pull out, like you said, some of those favorite pieces that are yours. And then what does that comfort mean as you send your message through our conversation to everyone? So beautiful. The affirmation that I have that goes with the Brador Sunset is: put yourself at ease as you center into the golden memories that rejuvenate and inspire you. And that's what vacations really do bring us, is a way for us to create these new memories, these new nuggets, things we've forgotten about with living. And it's an opportunity then to see how can we bring that back to us and bring it into our days. So I'm going to shine a light on tangerine and the delicate light of the safflower petals. And safflower currently ends up in a lot of teas. Teas are changing right now because of all of the current things happening in all the different countries. So access to some of the ingredients is changing, which is going to change the way some of the teas are put together. So currently I have tangerine and the safflower petals to highlight. Excuse me, tangerine spiritually lifts heaviness. It brightens the emotional field. It supports digestion physically and metaphorically, helping us to process life experiences with greater ease. And the safflower petals are associated with circulation and heart energy. They gently move stagnation, encouraging openness and flow. So together, we can think about how they create a warmth without intensity, more of an ease without collapsing things. And this is an opportunity now for us to take a breath. And as you said, notice the aroma, what's coming in. And there's rooibos in here as well. And just so full of fragrances. It's like the nose gets tickled. So I invite people to sip on what they have. Maybe it's water. You want to fuse the water with the same that we brought to the conversation. And maybe it's your cup of coffee. Maybe it's a different tea. But notice how your shoulders can soften as you're holding on to that teacup or that mug. And let this be the doorway that invites you into a conversation of thinking differently about vacations, whether they're stay vacations or away. So cheers. Thank you,
Cheers.
Laurin, for another great conversation today.
If you got video, I have my crocus cup today because spring is in the air.
I was looking at that, and I was looking at the paint on my mug, which is for Prince Edward Island, and the dirt from Prince Edward Island is within the paint, but it has the same kind of strokes as what you have on yours. Yeah. So there's a
upward.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. All right. I'm going to dive into a little bit about the science of the illness brain. And this is something that I don't think people really will have thought about. And it kind of surprised me as I started to dive deep to find out how we wanted to approach the conversation of vacation and illness. So when somebody receives a diagnosis or anticipates one, the brain does a shift. And research in this has shown through psychoneuroimmunology that chronic health stress gets activated. So you have the amygdala goes into a fear response, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis engages all the stress hormones. We can have increased cortisol levels. We can have heightened vigilance. We can start scanning for more symptoms, more things we should be noticing. You're nodding your head.
Yep.
And this creates what we could call the illness brain. And it's not imaginary. It's a neurological pattern of hyper-awareness, future scanning, identity attachment to diagnosis, and then reduced cognitive flexibility. So even when symptoms are stable, the nervous system remains in a braced state, and it doesn't want to let go because it wants to protect. And over time, this vigilance can become very exhausting. And I think it's not even so much if you have a diagnosis of illness, you look at just living a stressful life where you just go from one activity to the next, and there's always this high pressure. You're creating that same system for the body to try to adjust to. Mm-hmm. When we step away, we have a profound therapeutic result that can happen. So what studies show is on a restorative vacation, you reduce your cortisol, you improve your heart rate variability, you increase your parasympathetic activation, you have improved sleep. Sometimes that could take several days, but then it's like all of a sudden it's like, there's that sleep. You can have improved mood regulation, and then greater neuroplasticity starts to happen. Nature immersion specifically has been shown to quiet the default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for rumination, there we go, of repeating those thought patterns, the monkey brain going over and over. And particularly with diagnosis, saying that diagnosis, repeating phrases, repeating research you've looked up. So in simple terms, what I'm saying is the brain stops rehearsing the illness, and on vacation, you start experiencing life. And I know some people will say they need 3 weeks vacation. They need 1 week to get over what they left behind, 1 week to fall into this space. And then they need the week after that to prep themselves for getting back into their life and the stress that it produces. And you can see how even that mentality sets you up for disaster, in that you're already inviting that stress back.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're talking about this part of it, I know that's some of the work too that you were trained in. Laurin, do you want to add anything to this particular part of the conversation?
Well, I know that when working with energy as a healer, that idea that I've got to be hyper vigilant, that belief that I have to be hyper vigilant. See, I can't do the words today. Vigilant. Those are always just a shock to the body. They just rattle the whole body, and you likely get pain in odd places, even if there's nothing going on there, just because the body is a little like trying to take care of everything all at once. I feel like a young mom. you know? And so that anything that you can do to soothe that cortisol spike and to soothe that, or to at least loosen the grip of that belief that you have to be hyper vigilant. And I grew up in a household with a dad who had a massive heart attack at 40. And so we were always hyper vigilant about him, and he had 3 more. So this is a pattern I'm very familiar with living in. Though at that time I was 15 when he had his first heart attack. I didn't understand all the reaction to it. But so yeah, one of the main things I do with any client I have when I start is Reiki, which is just a very gentle energy. I want to call it therapy. It relaxes everything, and that then helps to reveal like those beliefs, or to reveal where the pain is, and then because I'm a weirdo, I get information from that pain in the body. I get it in my, knowings. But if we can't kind of calm that down, you can't get to the root problems. So for me, vacation is a place of letting things calm down. And that means things also bubble up. But then I can do something about them. So that's where sort of my work comes into this, as helping to calm the nervous system enough to find those things and help release that energy. So yeah, so it's very much in line with what we're going to talk about today.
And I just wanted to reiterate one piece, which will come in more as we're talking, but that neuroplasticity. When you're in that hyper state, you do not have the capacity to be open for new things, even though you want to be.
Right.
And even though you know you need to be. Yeah. But it's that hyper vigilance that keeps you from being able to make transitory kinds of activities and choices. And you need to have that reduced peace. So that's where the vacation becomes so important.
And I want to just, reinforce that because I have found, especially since I learned that I did indeed carry this gene copy, the Alzheimer's gene, I have found that I'm in overwhelm very often and very easily. Mental overwhelm, emotional overwhelm. And so when the doctors give me 6 things to do, I'm like, well, I'm going to try to work on one of these. Because I can't do all of that right now. I don't have the capacity. So I'm still working on that. But
Mhm.
I have noticed that as a pattern that has been particularly obvious to me, I want to say,
Mhm.
since about a year ago when I got this diagnosis. But I've also learned to say, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I can step back. I can't do everything at once. Don't want to do everything at once. And I give myself the grace to go, okay, I can take this little step. And that's all I can do today. And that's okay. But it is definitely a part of this illness brain thing that happens, that you get overwhelmed really fast with decisions. And I'm not a great decision maker anyway, so it kind of compounds things. But I just wanted to reinforce that that is a real thing, and overwhelm is how I describe it. So yeah,
And can you imagine, none of us would ever imagine, get a diagnosis, it requires immediate attention, and we say, excuse me, but I'm going to go take 2 weeks vacation so that I can calm my system to get to a place where I will be open to receive,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then I will be back. Like, nobody does that. Everybody goes,
yeah.
okay, and dive in, right?
Do it now.
Yeah. And
Not
then I
just do
better,
it now, but do it all now. Make all the decisions. Figure out how you're going to pay for it. Do all this. It's like,
yeah. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to be checking every detail that I can find and
yeah,
digging deep down into that. Um, and so we're adding to it. And even the
adding stress.
response
Yeah,
from the medical model adds to the stress. Yeah.
yeah. And that's probably why, if people go back and listen to some of the first couple of episodes, I immediately turned to energy medicine. I
Mm-hmm.
immediately turned to ancestral healing, because those I trust and I understand, and I had the support of friends and teachers to do it for me. So I could sort of passively, actively be part of it. And so that, for me, that was maybe a difference that I took immediately, that I knew I would deal with that better than if I had to deal with all the medical stuff right away. And
Mm-hmm.
so then I was able to kind of weave them together. But I am a big advocate these days for myself of do what you can, but don't push, because pushing just creates stress, and stress is not going to help anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's part of what I learned on vacation too. So
I, I'm thinking about what you just said in calling in the ancestors. Now, you're looking at a genetic
yeah,
piece
yeah,
and genetic encodement, and then to go call in the ancestors and say, okay, let's rally this, but let's also bring in the mentors who has the skills to be able to support me so that I'm not doing the work, but I'm able to access the work
right.
and then let the balance and flow bring me forward.
Yeah, it allows you to receive whatever healing comes from that, but I didn't have to be the healer too, right? I could be receptive but not active.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, I think for me personally, if I got a bad diagnosis that required a lot of medical stuff, I would still go to the other stuff first, partly because it would prepare me to begin to make those other decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so it's a wonderful thing to combine, because yes, sometimes our pharmaceutical medical system is what's going to keep you alive, if that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the energetic is just gentler and
Mm-hmm.
allows for that space for a little healing to happen, and then maybe you can make a decision, or maybe you can add in something. So yeah, it's a beautiful combination. And I don't ever say to anybody you should do this one or that one. I say you should do both. You
Yeah.
know?
But
Um,
but it's an interesting thing that you've said is that by going the energetic route, you bring the flow to it, you bring the calm, you take the stress out,
mhm.
and now you're prepared to have the value of the medical model
Yeah, yeah,
available to you, rather than, as people say, I'm going to fight this,
mhm.
the battle, the
Right.
um, Oh, what do I want to say? When you've got different kinds of drugs coming at you, you've got that bombardment
Hmm.
and the push. I guess that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And so the resistance. So that's an interesting way people don't really talk about the energy activities about. They're usually it's a one or the other, or this to complement that, but not about actually preparing yourself to be available.
Yeah. Yeah. That whole calming the nervous system is critical because even with medicine, if your body is flooded with cortisol and all the other things that, create stress in the body, you're not going to be able to receive that medicine very well. Your body's
Mm-hmm.
already busy doing all this other stuff. And you're probably not going to, I mean, this is strictly my idea. I have no scientific background in this, but I feel like your body is unable to absorb whatever goodness comes from those medications
Mm-hmm.
if you are clenched and tight and your blood's not flowing real careful, real well, and energy's not flowing well. It's not going to circulate where it needs to go with ease. So you're fighting yourself at that point.
Mm-hmm.
See, here's something I hadn't really put into words before, but yeah,
Me
that whole
neither.
calming of the nervous system is like the foundation of healing.
Mm-hmm.
You need to prepare your body. And again, I'm just getting this. You need to prepare your body for the onslaught of whatever it's going to take to get over whatever diagnosis you've got. And if you don't do that preparation, it's like anything else. If you don't do the preparation, the work is a lot harder. you know?
It's
So,
harder, or we say that medicine didn't work for me.
and
That procedure didn't work. There was a flaw in it.
or the side effects were too bad. I couldn't take the medicine anymore. Maybe it's mixing with the cortisol. I don't know. Again, I have to really make that clear. I am not a scientist or a doctor, but I have a pretty strong intuition with a good track record with it. And I really do. I mean, I feel also the same way about surgeries that we need to come in and do the energy work there after the surgery as well as before it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's something that's not really accepted in the medical community yet. Um, but it does. I have found personally, and I've seen it with clients and my teachers, that we get better faster when we bring the energetic into it. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So for people that are listening, what would those energy? There's lots of different energy things that are potential, but both Reiki and therapeutic touch, and I'd probably say healing touch as well, provide the opportunity for creating ease and flow.
mhm.
Um, there are lots of other tools that could be used for sure, but
Oh
in
yeah,
that ease and flow and relaxation and getting to that place of reducing the cortisol levels and heart rate and calming the parasympathetic system, um, those are tools that have been researched
yeah,
before and after surgeries, before and after different kinds of treatments, and have had amazing results. Um, and I think you and I are now having the conversation about that's why, because that
yeah,
illness brain needs to have that relaxation
yeah,
before the body has the opportunity to proceed. It's already working hard to keep you alive. And then you add more stuff to it and it thinks it's still under threat. It's
yeah,
going to fight it rather than go, oh, you've decided to help.
yeah,
I'll accept the help. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that's where we were heading
I
today.
didn't either.
I love it. I love it. So let's look at you took your vacation now through the lens of what we're just talking about.
hmm
Um, when did you first notice the shift of that illness brain as it was quieting down, and what did you notice?
It's so I had almost 3 weeks and I was in Hawaii. You know, we go out there every few years. We love it out there. Um, and I know from habit and experience that the energy out there is very different than the energy is here on the East Coast of the US, especially these days. Um, I only live a couple hours south of Washington. So, it's the energy in here is always heavier than it is in Hawaii. We have a lot of trauma in the ground here, and a lot of earth healers have been brought here. I know, a bunch of them, and I'm among them to heal some of that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and I actually live at ground zero for the English establishing themselves in this country. So, I mean, it's like 10 miles from my house or less. But so I always expect to feel better there, and I always do. Now there's the expectation that's fed by the experience, and it's a feedback loop. Um, and this year, I had sort of thought about that before I went because I wanted to really experience it consciously. And it was really light. The place is magical. It's just magical. Um, if you can ever get there, you should go.
I agree.
Um, yeah. And so, at first we were in Waikiki, in Honolulu area for a few days. And we love it there, but I can only take a few days because it is very intense energy. It's that urban environment with this lovely ocean right there. So we always make a point of walking the beach a lot and getting in the water. And that immediately sort of settled all the travel stuff, and I felt very I want to say free. It was like we're so disconnected from home there. It's so far away. My husband can't even stay in touch with his company, kind of thing, because the times are so a bit different. And it was like a big exhale. It's like I could let go of the heaviness of, the illness brain. The I could let go of the I should do this, I should do this, I should eat that, I shouldn't eat that. I should, it's like I'm on vacation. I'm just going to do what feels good. And so what felt good was being outside a lot. Um, we had a little bit different weather than we usually have in February. It was a little rainier. It was a little cooler. It was a lot windier. There was a big storm off the Big Island while we were there. And so, we were kind of adapting to expectations a bit, but you're in Hawaii. So, so we ate at our favorite ramen place, and we walked the beach, every day for the 3 or 4 days we were there. And I just felt like a big weight was dropped from my shoulders. It's like I left all that shit behind, excuse my language. And I don't have to pick it up again until I get home, which was a bad thought. Because actually, I don't have to pick it up again at all if I don't want to. But over the time we were there, and we got to go to the Big Island this year for the first time, and that was still a different energy than Oahu, which is where we usually go. And if you aren't familiar with Hawaii, Oahu is sort of the busiest island. It's where the most people live. In fact, it's like 70% of Hawaiians live on the island of Oahu. So it's very densely packed, but still wonderful. But the Big Island was a different energy. It was a fiery, light energy, which I hadn't really experienced before. Um, all those islands are made of volcanoes, but most of them are extinct or dormant at least. And this one had Kilauea was actively steaming, so they were anticipating an eruption, which is something on my bucket list is to experience from a distance a volcanic eruption. I love that. I had read a book when I was a kid about Pele, who is the goddess of this particular volcano, actually. And I had been sort of fascinated with that fire goddess, lava goddess kind of idea. So I really have always wanted to go and see that. Um, so yeah, from that sort of dropping things away, it dropped away pretty quickly. Um, and some of that is just that, when you're that far away from home, you don't drag all that stuff with you. It's just too heavy, you know. And I really enjoyed the lightness of the energy there, the I guess it's ozone or ions that come off the ocean.
Mhm.
I don't live close enough to the ocean to get that all the time. Um, but there's just something very magical about getting up early in the morning and taking a walk along the water, which we did everywhere we stayed. Um, and just that feeling, I don't know, it was I guess I would associate it mostly with healing energy. I mean, it's sort of that same higher frequency vibration feel of lightness that I get when I'm working with that energy. And um, and I really kind of forgot about the brain stuff.
Mhm.
And I didn't do it purposefully, but it just the environment and that being so far away from the day-to-day life and the responsibilities and all that stuff really did let me let go of it. There was nobody going, have you exercised today? Including the little voice in my head. You need to eat better. Go get some quinoa. It's like, um, so it really lightened me up a lot.
Mhm.
Now, I will say that our second day on the Big Island, I woke up with some sort of, I thought it was a cold, but it still got a little bit of lingering. And what I discovered with that is that normally at home, when I feel that way, I just want to sit on the couch and do nothing. But my urge was to get outside. And even if it was raining, it didn't matter. I wanted to be outside. And the minute I got outside, I felt better. The minute I went back to, inside, or mostly when I went to bed at night, then I didn't feel so good. But I'd get up in the morning, be a little groggy. I go, I'm going to go outside. And so it didn't interfere with anything, though it did get my little brain going, okay, what wants to be released? Because this was a lot of congestion and coughing, but
Mhm.
I didn't really focus on it much because I didn't want to. I wanted to just enjoy being there.
Mhm.
Um, and uh, and so I did finally, towards the end of the vacation, I started meditating, which I usually, when we go to Hawaii, I get up and I meditate every morning, and I just didn't feel it this time. But we were back on Oahu, and our kids were there, so it was a little more, stuff going on. And I got up in the morning. I said, I need to go for my walk because I love that first thing in the morning. And I stopped shortly in my walk, and I walked up onto this little hill that overlooked the ocean. And I sat down there, and I decided to meditate, which because I love to meditate right there with the ocean. And um, and I had these feelings bubble up. And the feelings were, it took me a minute because I got teary. I'm like,
Mhm.
what's going on? You know? And so then I do my thing. I go inside. Okay, what's going on? Why am I feeling teary? This is a beautiful place. It's a wonderful, I've had a great vacation. We're getting close to the end of it. Love seeing my kids. And one of our favorite places to be. And everything is going right in my world. And yet, except for that cough and congestion thing that won't let go. And so I realized that it was fear. I have learned to identify and name fear through the course of this last year. Um, and so then I'm going, God, what am I fearful about? Because I wasn't feeling fearful about the dementia per se, but I was really afraid. This came up, and it's making me little
Mhm.
tear here. I was afraid for my family.
Mhm.
Because my mom, oh gosh, here it goes. I'm still working on this, obviously. It's a progress.
Mhm.
But my mom
Absolutely.
had been so difficult and so damaging the last several years of her life. She had diagnosed dementia for 10 years, but the last three were the worst. And I don't want to do that to my family.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I kind of sat with that. And and then I start self-talking in a good way. Okay, so why am I so fearful of this? I know my husband will take care of me. I know my kids will do whatever we need them to do. I've got that support. I just don't want to be a burden.
Mhm.
And so I just kept telling myself, they'll take care of me. It's okay. It's okay. And that's when I really focused on this is a fear for them. I still have work to do on it. um, but this is a fear for them being trapped like I was with my mom.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
part of my self-talk was, you are not your mother. You're really nothing like your mother except in looks. They used to call us twins at her assisted living place. You're much more like your grandmother. My mom's mom was the sweetest person I ever met. And I got work to do. Um, and the more she lapsed into the dementia, the sweeter she got. And I thought, I'm much more like that. I'm not like my mother at all. um, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. So even now I'm calming myself down, reminding myself of this.
Mhm.
Um, but that's my big fear right now. It's not for myself, it's for my
Mhm.
loved ones.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm working on that.
Mhm.
And I have sessions set up with my two teachers that I regularly have sessions with, and that's what we'll be working on because they help me. It's that just like we were talking about with when I went straight to the energetic stuff to prepare. I go there when I found something and I can't take care of it myself.
Mhm.
And they help me gently let it go. They
Mhm.
gently let it be processed because we can't
Mhm.
just go, I'm not going to think about that anymore.
Yeah.
That's when things start to hurt in the body. And so, yeah, so that's still part of my regular taking care of myself thing is to have those sessions. And I never know, it's like these conversations. I never know exactly what we're going to work on, but I'll walk in and go, there's some fear. I need to work on this fear.
Mhm.
Um, and that every time it helps. I'm not saying we don't have to repeat it sometimes. Depends on how deeply it's stuck, and how much I'm not ready to let go of all of it, which is never a conscious thing for me. I was like, let's let that one go.
Mhm.
Um, so it's
Mhm.
another place where I'm doing the stuff that my doctor is recommending, taking the supplements, trying to, fine tune my diet always. But I'm still bringing in those other modalities that help me deal with the emotional part of it instead of focusing from the physical.
Mhm.
Not forgetting
Mhm.
the physical, but not making it the primary or the first choice. And that's where I've done all my profound healing my whole life. So,
So it's really interesting, as people are listening, to think about if they're trying to solve a health issue through that stress level. So we've now identified that's not a good time to be doing it
yeah.
because you're not thinking clearly and you're not making choices with an open mind or
Yeah.
an open heart,
Hmm.
because you need to be able to relax to find that space.
Yeah.
And then how long it took you even through your vacation to be able to get to the place where that could even surface.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then for you to be available to recognize it and then to say, I know how I can change the way I'm going to think about that.
Yeah.
Because if it had come up a little bit earlier and you maybe recognized it, you could have reacted with anger and then
Yes.
held the anger rather
Yes.
than, okay, let's look at this in a different way.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to bring that illustration forward for anybody listening that has been approaching an illness from the stress level. And then now thinking about how could this be done very differently
Yeah.
and where do we place that? Um, the other thing that you said, interestingly enough, dementia comes with different emotions. So you don't know exactly because the lens of that hasn't been really looked at before, I don't think,
Hmm.
of in what state are you in as you have these different kinds of challenges that come up. If the genetic code determines that it still needs to save you, so it needs to activate that gene,
Hmm.
then are you in the place of being passive and resourceful and flowing, that you can have a personality like your grandmother?
Hmm.
Or maybe for your mom, if she was angry about that process and got stuck at the anger, but you
Oh, yeah.
managed to work past,
Hmm.
what the difference of the experience can be.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see, won't we?
We'll see. But the other thing someone said in an interview I watched yesterday, and unfortunately, Henry Benson, I believe it was, and okay, now just let me think what my train of thought was with this. It has to do with that personality piece. In our grandmother's time, they were out in nature, which is what you do all the time, and you're
All
already
the
aware
time.
of that piece.
Yeah.
But they were out in nature, and the nature was solving their problems for them.
Mm.
But then the next generation moved indoors,
Yeah.
and they disconnected from nature. And in that process, they didn't find this natural way to de-stress. So if they weren't de-stressing, that's where they were going to be at.
Hmm.
And I think your conversation about the difference, yes, there's difference in personalities, but there's also a difference in how they were able to access releasing stress.
Yes. Yeah, good point. Good point. And that was one of my major coping mechanisms with my mom is when I couldn't take it anymore, I went into the woods, literally went into the woods, found a tree that would help me, put my back against it, cried if I needed to, and just let that tree kind of embrace me with that beautiful
Mm-hmm.
energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all right, this is a little off track, but I want to share something that happened in Hawaii on the
Mm-hmm.
Big Island for me. That was amazing. Speaking of trees, we went to the wet side of the island where it's all rainforests and waterfalls, and it was my favorite part of the island. And we went to a place called Akaka Falls, which is just these giant, giant waterfalls that are just, tons of water tumbling down these great, cliff faces that you could see. But the, I think it's a state park. They had built a walkway around through this area. There were actually two waterfalls you could see there, and they had built it around part of the rainforest, right? So, because this is in the rainforest up on top of a mountain, basically, or close to it. And it was a circle around. So we walked through it, and there's just amazing, amazing old growth, like bamboo forest. We walked through at one point, but there's a banyan tree. Now, if you're not familiar with banyan tree, they grow, I think they're originally from like India and parts of Asia, but they send out branches and then they drop roots from those branches to build more um, what are trunks? That's the word I'm looking for. And they'll just keep spreading, as far as they can go, depending on how old they are. Well, this one has got to be an ancient one. We couldn't see the original trunk in there because there were so many offshoots. And it took up this enormous space. You could not see where the tree really stopped and started because the forest, is a rainforest. So there's other stuff growing in amongst it. But the walkway goes all the way around that tree. And so we came to the other side. And it's my favorite kind of tree these days. So I was like, oh, look at this. I took pictures. You can't tell anything. It's like, it's too big. But we walked around the other side, and there was literally what looked like a knee, like a bent knee, from the same tree that was right next to the walkway. And I said, Dean, my husband, wait, I just have to say hello. And so I put my hand on that knee, and I hope this is okay. I just wanted to say hello, quietly, as I do with trees in my head. And I was filled with this amazing wave of unconditional love. I have never experienced. I've experienced that with my babies, but I had never experienced that before. And I said, thank you, friend. And I got the message, no, call us lovies. Stop calling us friends, call us lovies. I was like, okay. And I didn't want to stay too long. I didn't want to, take advantage, but that energy was amazing. And my husband's already told me we have already planned to go back to the Big Island. He said, "Well, we'll go back to Okaka Farms, obviously, or Falls." And I said, "Yeah, we will," because he doesn't understand all the energy stuff, but he knows that it's important to me, and I think he could see the change that I had just from that. I had never experienced anything like that in my life, and it
Wow.
was just this ancient elderly tree who was very healthy and robust, had even gone across the walkway to drop more more trunks. Um, and it was just this like I said, it's unconditional love. That was the only way I could describe it. It just was beautiful, and what a gift! What a
Mm-hmm.
gift!
Mm-hmm.
Oh, little tree detour there, but I had to share that because that was the highlight of my trip.
Wow.
Um,
And from the perspective of what we're talking about and how the body reacts to the stress and then reacts to being able to relax,
mhm.
when you're standing in that unconditional love, it's just like everything is just here.
Oh
It's just
yeah,
there.
it's just yeah, it's
You're at the
I
center of
can't even
presence.
describe it. Yeah, it's just the
Yeah.
best thing I've ever felt in my life, and it filled my entire body. It wasn't like I just felt it in my hand. It was like it just
Mm-hmm.
like flowed into me. And
Mm-hmm.
then I was like walking on air after that. So,
And how beautiful, because now the place that you can make a decision, the place that you can make choices from that are just like everyday choices, nothing to do with illness, but just choices is it's completely different. And also I know when you find that spot where you can feel that, excuse me, it's like I felt it and I want to get back there. We lose it and then we have to figure out how to get back to it again.
well, and it reminds me that we have here in Williamsburg, Virginia, there's a couple of really, really ancient, huge trees that is kind of in a I don't know, a low place. And so you don't realize how big they are until you walk down there. And it's like, it's got a sewage treatment like relay station down there by them. So it's not a place people go, but it was right down the half a block from where my mom used to live. And I just went exploring one day. And I want to go back over there and now go and touch that tree because this was, oh, well, gosh, probably a decade ago that I first saw that tree and see if I have a similar experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because I think that it was the age of that tree was one thing that was just really,
Mm-hmm.
a big part of that. It's like he's
Mm-hmm.
been there a long time, he's seen it all. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So, yeah.
Obviously knows how to survive, putting out as many trunks as required.
And thrive. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore also giving the rest of the forest around him, places to be and grow and twine up and so
Mm-hmm.
he was a community for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was lucky enough on my vacation, which I just came back from, um, to be with the redwoods and,
Oh,
you
yes.
know, the majestic
Yeah.
height of them, but also the ones that had fallen and the incredible root system
Oh,
and
I know.
um, what was present in there. Just so spectacular as well.
Yeah. I got to be amongst some of them mm, pre-pandemic, so it's been a while now, but that was another bucket list for me was to see the redwoods.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fabulous beings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one thing too, I would like to bring to the conversation as we're talking about nature is as I was teaching Tai Chi today, we were talking about people who walk through nature. So they put their earbuds in, they listen to the podcast or put the music on, and they detach from their surroundings.
Hmm.
So they pass through nature, but they don't connect to nature.
Yeah.
And what we're both talking about is that impact of what the body feels like when it's involved, when we're one with nature,
Yeah.
when we're back where we started, which is being completely connected rather than
Yeah. Yeah.
disconnected by our urban world.
Yeah, being in community and in touch, literally, you know, with them is
Hmm.
something we've lost.
Hmm.
Well, I haven't lost it entirely. We kept half of our lot as woods. You know, so,
Yeah. And it's been your walks, your connection to nature has been kind of an underlying all the way through our
mhm.
conversations,
Yeah.
and has played such a significant role. So for those people listening too, to consider how much are they connected to nature?
Mhm.
Have they been willing to go out? And I agree with you. As soon as you're not feeling well and you go out, you're picked
Feel
up.
better. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
you know, but we could easily stay indoors, turn the TV on,
Yep.
not move from the living room, and um, and then wonder why it took so long to
Yeah.
feel better.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that you don't need to still have the same amount of rest. You may still need same amount of days, but how you feel in that process and how empowered your body is to really do a good healing
Yeah.
job is completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, sunshine and fresh air can't get better than that. You know?
And for those that don't know, this is part of being trained in therapeutic touch, taking back to Florence Nightingale.
Mhm.
The turning point for the soldiers that she was supporting was when she opened all the windows, let the air in, and then started changing all the bed sheets. And she was bringing nature in and connecting them back up. And that's when they started to heal.
Yep.
Um, yeah.
Yep.
So for those people that don't know, um, the instigator of the nursing profession, she knew
Mhm.
what she was doing.
Yep.
So, um, okay, so we've wandered through a lot of different pieces.
Mhm.
As you connected with the Hawaiians, is there anything, when people go on vacation and they go into other people's areas
Mhm.
and connect with their culture and traditions, is there anything that came forward that really supported you as well? From the,
There is the what I mean, we who live on the mainland or elsewhere know as aloha, which is a hello and a goodbye, but they speak about the aloha spirit
mm,
and they live it. It is about community. It's about connection to nature. It's about helping each other. And I'm sure they have conflicts and stuff, you know, because they're people. But the aloha spirit is alive and thriving out there.
mhm,
And it's something that anybody you run into who lives there, and you do see, you know, people who are native Hawaiians a lot because they still live there too. Um, they they just have a sense of peace about them.
mhm,
And you know, I'm not saying life is easy for them. It's a very expensive place to live. And you know that they have all the typical things that indigenous people in the US have, all the same problems of land and you know maintaining their culture and their language and you know educating their children in those things and but they just seem to have this very groundedness to them.
mhm,
Um and I just felt that. And it's something that I every time I go out, I think I get a little bit more of it infused into me. You know?
mhm,
And I will say, we are very lucky that we get to go out there every few years because it is not an easy place to get to and it's expensive.
mhm,
So we do have that advantage. But there's other islands that have a similar vibe to them. I don't know that the Caribbean is that way that much, but I'm sure there's other island countries that have similar vibes. But it's there, or maybe it's just unique to Hawaii. I don't really know. I haven't been to that many islands. But they live in this place that is actively growing and aging. at the same
Mhm.
time because it's an island chain. The big island is still growing. It erupted the day after we left the big island.
Wow.
And then it had a big eruption just I think last week. But it was still it was so fascinating to me to be and I'll flip this a little bit away from the aloha spirit to be looking at that volcano as the steam vents were coming up and you could tell where it had erupted last time because the colors are different and to stand there and understand deeply that this is how all of the ground on earth was created
Mhm.
and to connect that heart of Mother Earth to the creation of the things that we live on, to me
Mhm.
it was intellectually I understood it, but I got a real, I don't know, understanding, comprehension of how important this birthing of the earth is. You know, it's like we're
Mhm.
making more. We're not destroying things. We're making more as the heart of Mother Earth reveals herself.
Mhm.
And that to me was really fascinating. It was something that I like I said, understood intellectually how, how we get new ground on Earth. Um,
Mhm.
but to really be there in the heart of it. And there's I think I mentioned this earlier, there's a goddess named Pele, Pele, who I had read about as a child. And her presence is I was very aware of it. That feminine energy of creation, fiery creation was very with me the whole time I was on that island, but particularly the day we got to go and stand on the rim and watch the vents go. It made it real to me.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that we need to remember as really, part of the animal world living on the earth is that we got to take care of what we have because it takes a while to make new earth. And it certainly takes a long time for it to be, livable, and it's going to
Mhm.
fade away. And it's, the Hawaiian Islands are a perfect example of that. They get smaller and smaller and smaller the further west you go, because those are the oldest islands.
Mhm.
And so that's really stayed with me that, we want to honor the birth of new earth or whatever it is we're birthing and
Mhm.
understand that it's over time, something else new is going to come along, and that's okay. We need that. We need that. We need that. And I think actually now that I say that, I think that's really what's happening right now in our country. And unfortunately, we're um, spreading that to the rest of the world, I guess. But it's like the eruption of the volcano.
Mhm.
It's just covering up all the old or removing all the old. It's clearing out a lot of energy that we are. I will personally apologize for us spreading as Americans. Um, but that something better, something not better, but something newer can come behind it.
Mhm.
So and that's what I'm just putting together now. So
Mhm.
I think, for me, that connecting with that deep visceral understanding that to make new earth, we have to sometimes cover up old stuff or burn away old stuff or create brand new places, you know, in
Mhm.
order for that to happen. And
Mhm.
I think that's a lesson I'm going to carry with me for a long
Mhm.
time.
Well, and if you go back to illness, using the metaphor of like you said with the creation of the land, illness didn't just happen.
Yeah.
It took a long time for the
Hmm.
body to be out of balance for long enough in a certain way in order to be activated to
Yeah.
produce whatever it's produced. So it's not going to just
It's not,
disappear,
yeah. Right.
but it also has the opportunity to transform
Yes.
with the impetus for something different. Because as soon as you change something to bring the flow a different way, it has to respond differently. And in that
Mhm.
response, you don't know where that's going to take you on that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, getting back to the illness brain, that's a really good thing to hold on to is that maybe what's going on right now sucks, but what's going to come behind it?
Mhm.
and how, how do I interact with this situation
Mhm.
to bring out the best result,
Mhm.
whatever that is. Maybe that best result for whatever reason is dementia,
Mhm.
right? But maybe the best result is I break the pattern for my cousins and my kids.
Mhm.
So I'm working on the breaking the pattern one. But
Mhm.
if I don't, then at least we've done this.
Mhm.
You know, we've put stuff out there that can help other people navigate their own journey uh,
Mhm.
with some different ideas.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
so,
really
from
shining the
that point of
light
view, it's
of
all good. Yeah.
well, and to be able to reflect, even for you to be able to say, I don't want to leave this burden for my children. But
Hmm.
we have this opportunity to have conversations about that now. And, before with your mom, you probably, that was not a conversation. Like you were just thrown in and, you
Yep.
know, survive,
Yep,
survive and
exactly. It
help
was very
mom to get where she
survival.
needs to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
But to be able to cognitively sit with it and I don't want to be a burden. But then I was just reflecting on my niece who thrives on being able to support seniors or people. She works with people with mental challenges um, who live in a group home. And she thrives on the opportunity to assist and
Yep.
help. And one of the things she had said was because she got my grandmother at the end of my grandmother's life,
Hmm.
as my grandmother turned 100, my niece was there to hold her hand for the last 2 years, where I got grandma, when I was little. She'd be out in
Hmm.
the farm and she'd be harvesting in all of the vegetables and the things they were picking in the orchards. That's the grandma I got.
Hmm.
She got the grandma where she held her hand and she provided her with support and love and just presence of just sitting there, not
Yeah.
talking about anything for an hour, but
Yep.
just sitting. And she said that was one of her favorite memories of her great grandmother, was this opportunity to just be present in that way.
Hmm.
And so that also lends itself to what a lot of us hope we never leave for our children, is to burden them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the part of being in a family is the stages and roles that we all play as we go in and out of each other's lives and
Yeah.
go through our lifespan. And we all take different roles at different times. And that's part of learning about life too.
Yeah.
So in
Yeah.
what grace do we approach those different roles where you become vulnerable and somebody else becomes responsible, and
Hmm.
how those roles change? So it's an interesting piece, which I'm sure is a whole other dialogue for for another one of our conversations. Um, how about if we go, because I know one of the things you and I talked about is we both love swimming with dolphins, which I know is no longer something that's legal. Um, but the opportunity to see the whales, see the dolphins, seals, the turtles. Did you have an opportunity to connect with some of the water creatures?
Yeah, we didn't actually get to swim with the dolphins, but the place that we stayed on, the Big Island, uh, had lava rocks. So it's called Lava Beach, was right next to the where we were staying. And we walked over there like that day I woke up not feeling great. We walked over there and it is lava rocks everywhere. I mean, so but it's right there by the ocean. So the ocean, there's a kind of a bay there. So it was calm. But we walked around the curve to go, further down the beach, and there's a turtle right there next to the rock eating something off of it. And, it's probably, as big around as my arms. So not a huge one, but not a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh, it's a turtle, it's a turtle. Because, they're pretty rare to see up close. And it was like you could look right down on it. And there was another guy who had brought our attention to it. And he said, yeah, and over there's three more. We walked over there. There was two up on the beach and one coming up on the beach for a nap, and I
Mm.
think we saw 10 or 11 turtles in that one little stretch of beach that day. And they are just such magical creatures. Partly because we don't see them anywhere else. Um,
Mhm.
Partly because they're making a comeback. They have weathered the storm, and with people helping to make it safe for them to come, to make babies. Um, and so we love that. And then when we went back to Oahu, there is a little natural cove in the resort area that we always stay in. And we discovered it a number of years ago now. And unfortunately it's getting better known now, but usually there was nobody there. But we've never gone there. I don't think we've ever gone there without seeing a turtle in the cove. Sometimes they're like on a rock, uh, you know, uh, sunning themselves, but usually sometimes you get bumped by them as they're going by you. You're not supposed to touch them. You're not supposed to be within a few feet of them. But if they bump into you, it's like, what are you going to do? Um, so we did have a good time with the turtle sightings. This year, the highlight was the monk seal. This is a Hawaiian monk seal, and they are also beginning to make a comeback. They've been pretty rare. We didn't see them for a long time when we first started going out there. And we had a couple of years ago we were there, and there's another sort of natural cove, not all the way down where the turtles are, but there had been one that it was beaching itself there for a nap, you know, every day for almost a week. And they do have people who will come in. You always report when you see one on the beach because they're protected. And so you tell whoever, is, like working for one of the resorts or something, and they call in the people who come and put the ropes around it so you can see them, but you stay a respectful different distance away.
Mhm.
Well, this year that was true. There was a monk seal there. We missed one that was on the beach where the turtles are. Um, but but I think it was our last day there. We got lucky. We have a really high ocean view kind of place that we're staying with the balcony that they call it a lanai out there. And I went out and I looked down, and there's all these people gathered on the beach that are not in bathing suits. They're just people. And then sort of standing facing all that crowd is somebody who clearly works for the resort, because I know, what the t-shirts look like. And he's like waving his hands and doing stuff and pointing at things, and then they all go, ah, and they walk away. And then I'm looking down there, and there's this big plaque thing there. I was expecting there to be like a turtle, or maybe that was an introduction to the lagoons. I don't know. And monk seal right there on our beach. That is a very active beach for tourists, and in the resorts. And he was there, and at night he left sometime during the night, but he was there for like 6 hours, and
Wow.
and we could actually see him, from our villa, they call them. But my daughter and I were like, I said, oh, it's a seal right there, right there. She's like, let's go. Went down, took pictures. But that was the closest we ever came to having them. Just like, I mean, we never had them just right there in those active lanai, or lagoons, they call them. And so that was the water creature height of it. But we also did a whale watch this year, which I realized I'd never been out on the ocean when we've been out there.
Mm.
The kids and I, my husband's like, I'm not going out there. Um, but the kids and I went out on this wonderful big pontoon boat, and it was a gorgeous day. It was quite windy, but it was a gorgeous day. And we had to go pretty far out. It's humpback season out there in February. That's when they calve, when the babies are born. And so we would see the spouts off in the distance a lot, even just from the beach. But we did get pretty close to I think there were four different ones. I thought they were all the same one at the time, but one of the crew said, no, those are four different ones. And so we were like right in the midst of four of them. And that was very magical.
Mhm.
I've gone on whale watches on the East Coast in the Atlantic.
Mhm.
And we've seen humpbacks a lot there too, but up in Maine. But I hadn't done that in a long time. And so that was really, really magical. And again, just being out on the ocean was a very different experience. And so that was for me. being on the water was, even I didn't care if we didn't see a whale at that point. It was just fun to be out on the water in the wind and
Mm-hmm.
get a different view of the island that way too. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we did have our fair share of marine mammals that are, and I guess turtles aren't mammals, are they? But we did see our fair share of the critters that are so magical and amazing,
Mm-hmm.
bigger than I ever expect.
Yeah. 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 It's funny, because they're just always so off in the distance that you don't realize the impact.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah.
They're awe-inspiring. They really are. Um, and I mean, I am a nature girl, but there's something about seeing a whale come up and then slowly go along. They're so graceful. How is something that big graceful? It's like
Yeah.
it's really awe-inspiring. And I
Yeah.
I I love awe-inspiring things these days.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's going to lead me as a nice segue into the last question I wanted to ask you, which was in the time that you spent um, finding yourself again and letting go of that illness brain,
Mhm.
is there a point where you thought, this is who I am beyond illness?
I don't think I thought of it that way, specifically that, beyond illness, but it was really this is who I always want to be.
Okay.
This is and it always is a challenge when I get home to hold on to that.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm more conscious of it now.
Hmm.
And so I am finding myself not consistently yet um making choices that connect me kind of with that feeling of lightness,
Hmm.
and that feeling of being very connected to nature. I mean,
Hmm.
I feel connected here, but it was that banyan tree, that was a whole different kind of experience. And I have a desire to, like I said, I want to go out and find some big trees here, some ancient trees here, because we do
Hmm.
have some, um, and just connect with them as well. Um,
Hmm.
because then if I need that, I know where I can find it.
Hmm.
I also know what it feels like now. And so that sense memory is very strong.
Hmm.
And one of my aspirations is to be able to love unconditionally because I have very judgmental mind sometimes, especially around politics. So yeah, so there are things that I've brought back more consciously than I've done in the past that I want to be that happy, but not like I mean, I get giddy a lot, but especially when I'm working with energy. But just that sort of peacefulness of the aloha spirit,
Hmm.
the 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 healing that's always in the air there. How do I bring that more into my life? I know it's here. It's just we've built walls and floors and air
Hmm.
conditioning
Yeah.
and um, so I do know that if I could always feel as good as I did in Hawaii, not just physically, but mentally, I was relaxed. I wasn't worried about, God, why couldn't I remember that name?
Hmm.
Um, as as comfortable just doing what feels right in the moment,
Hmm.
like I need to go outside. Okay. You know? Um, and just that I think there's a wisdom out there that just kind of also permeates that it is a nice day. You should go outside. That's a good thing to do, as opposed to I really need to do that back in the floors and.
Hmm.
Um, so there's a priority. There's a big priority there to being outdoors.
Hmm.
That's part of their
Hmm.
culture too.
Hmm.
So yeah. So I think I brought back some things more consciously this time than I have in the past. It does not mean I haven't slipped into some bad habits again, but I'm consciously noticing that and
Yeah.
consciously making some alternative decisions. I watch too much TV. Okay, but now instead of watching nothing but politics, I'm going to find a show that I really like the characters on and that I care about, and I'll watch that instead.
Yeah.
Um, so it's allowed a little bit more conscious choices
Hmm.
than I probably was making before.
Hmm.
I'm also not letting myself get stressed out as much. I'm just like, oh, well, I couldn't go to Zumba today. Okay, I'll go next time. It's like, whereas before I was going, well, but you really need that cardio exercise. You know?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that
a little bit more
realization
laid back.
then, yeah, that stress response isn't the, or judgmental phrase
Yeah,
isn't really you.
right,
It's the
right.
situation that you create. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm hoping to maintain a lot of this.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to watch this video after it's published to remind myself of the deep
Come
wisdom I
back.
brought back.
Yeah. Yeah. I, we moved to Cape Breton Island, um, and we said to retire because that was our plan, was to
Yeah.
retire here. We were a little ahead of that, but tried to hold on to that mentality. But now the work is so busy all the time.
Mhm.
But when we say we would like to go on vacation, we don't know where we would go because we live where we would vacation,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we love it here so much. But the opportunity, as you were talking about, yes, my house was, when the cabin became too small because the kids got big and there wasn't enough room for everybody to fit. Then we bought this house thinking it would be a cabin. It's not really a cabin. It's huge. it's, and it's, and it's our house now. But treating it like the cabin. So treating it,
Mm.
like if there's sand on the floor, it is a compliment because that means I'm not really caring about, did the cleaning get done? It was a good day, so everybody went to the beach, and holding on to those kinds of ideas.
Yeah.
And this is just reiterating, we set up the house originally in with that vacation mindset. And
Hmm.
so to hold on to it and hold on to the integrity of what the vacation mindset does create.
Hmm.
But you're right. How easy is it to sit down to watch TV and mindlessly put
Mindlessly scroll.
yourself in a place it doesn't really need to be?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. Okay. For those people who are thinking now, how are they going to make some changes? What kinds of decisions do they want to make? I'm going to ask one of the big questions is how much are you connecting to nature?
hmm.
And is that connection to nature authentic, or is it something that you're passing through?
Yeah. Don't
Um,
put your earbuds in.
we all want to have that experience with the tree. At Tai Chi, we do energy exchanges with the tree as well. In some practices, I haven't done it for a while, but it is empowering and enlightening. And
And
I agree
healing.
with you. Yeah,
Very
yeah.
healing. Yeah.
So I want to just bring in a couple of things about nature and the nervous system reset, so people have a little bit of the science background. Nature does something remarkable to our brains, and you've described already the ocean waves
Hmm.
regulating the breath patterns and the blissful feeling.
Yeah.
The natural light recalibrates our circadian rhythms. We don't
Hmm.
realize that all the artificial light we're using completely wreaks havoc on those rhythms. That can be something that's lending itself to illness. And in your case, the volcanic landscapes can activate awe, and awe has been shown to reduce inflammatory markers, which
Hmm.
is so incredible. Swimming with dolphins and whales,
Hmm.
turtles. Here, sometimes it's jellyfish here,
Hmm.
sometimes it's hermit
Hmm.
crabs. Stimulates joy, play, sensory immersion. And it's not that we need to get into their space, it's to be in presence of them
Hmm.
for the energy that they emanate through the water.
Yeah.
And our turtles are ancient, steady grounding. They symbolize longevity, calm pacing. Can't do
Mhm.
anything fast if you're a turtle.
Nope.
And so these aren't just poetic metaphors, they're actually neurobiological reset mechanisms. And we can experience awe, play, novelty, and connection, which will help our dopamine to increase, our oxytocin levels to rise, our stress hormones to decrease. And then the brain encodes new memories that are not associated with illness. And this is when our
Ooh,
identity expands.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Mhm. And another thing that happened in that interview that I mentioned previously um, was he was talking about genetics and the genes and genes turning on and off. They turn on and off because they're trying to save us.
Hmm.
So if you don't need saving, they don't need to turn on in a different way. They can
Yeah.
be acting in the way that they're acting in a supportive role, but they don't have to save you. And so this is a really important thing to realize. It's not that there's a genetic code that's just sitting there waiting and then it erupts. It's
Hmm.
constantly fluctuating, just like the water. And
Yeah.
when we can be in that ebb and flow, we're creating the right space.
Yeah.
So I want to bring home another idea, which is when we go on vacation is we don't want to say what we say to people, how was your vacation? But the real question we want to say is, how do you bring that framework home? And you're talking about already how you've been weaving it or finding
Hmm.
out how it hasn't been weaving
Yeah.
and then saying, I'm going to be different this time.
Yeah.
So life does resume,
Mhm.
appointments resume, responsibilities resume, and we have to be aware of that, but we don't have to dive in the same way. We don't have to be the same. Um, all right. And you've talked about what you've brought back, things that you're anchoring, rituals that you anchor, and nature being so important in there. And the memory that you have. The tree is such a beautiful metaphor, but also example for people to be able to hold on to.
Yeah.
So I just want to remind people that golden memories are not nostalgia. They are nervous system anchors. They are a way for you to intentionally recall the creation of the parasympathetic activations, the ability to lower your heart rate, the emotional tone, how we can shift that, and then how we can restore our perspective and make decisions that are open and carefree rather than restricted and necessary. And they're not always the best decisions. I came back from my vacation with a cold, and
Mm.
I thought I was making good decisions until I was feeling better. And then I looked at the decisions I had made and went, what was I thinking? And that's what happens. You're in that space, you're working in this capacity, and that's what you do. But then all of a sudden, when things open up and you relax, everything feels better. But yeah. Anyway, I've
Yeah.
had to go back and fix a few things.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's close with a little memory practice. And let's bring in what you have, Laurin, with the turtle, with the sea creatures, the water, your walks with nature, and your beautiful banyan tree. So I'd like you, the listeners, to close your eyes if you can. If you're driving in a car, that's not a possibility, then just hold the space. And imagine standing at sunset. We'll bring in our Bador sunset tea. Imagine the sunset. The sky is gold, coral, purple. So many beautiful colors can happen in the sky. The air around you is warm. You hear the ocean breathing in and out. You are not a diagnosis. You are not a prognosis. You are not a future outcome. You are present, breathing. You're alive. You feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. You feel the steadiness beneath your feet. And take these moments, bottle them up, so that any time you need to bring them forward, you can bring this imagination back in and capture the essence and the feelings of what we've just described. And it won't be a memory of escape, but an evidence of who you are when fear can be quieted. The version of you exists, and it is right now and it's always. And when life feels heavy, when appointments loom, when uncertainty whispers, you can come back to the sunset, back to the ocean breath. Bring back the knowing you are more than the illness brain. You are everything. You can sip your tea, place your hand on your heart, and just remember. And with that, Laurin, thank you so much for this rich conversation today and sharing your vacation. And we'll look forward to where our next conversation is going to take us. Thank you so
never
much.
really know. Thanks for having me.
All the best, everyone. Take care and be well. Thank you for listening to Be Well with Dr. Michelle Greenwell. There are a couple of resources I want to just point out. When you go to the website greenwellcenter.com, you'll have a pop-up window. That pop-up gives you the top 8 easy stress releasers that you can use every day. That's something you can put beside your computer, the bathroom mirror, beside the bedside table. A great resource. Also, my YouTube channel. It is full of playlists with all kinds of different ways that you can activate energy and bring vitality into your day. You can find that when you go to YouTube at Michelle Greenwell. And last, if you're a Linktree person, Linktree, linktr.ee/Greenwell Center. That has all my resources in one spot. Those are for intricate little things that you can't get everywhere. And it's a wonderful way for me to be able to share all the different aspects of the kind of work I do. So thank you for listening. Be sure to drink that tea. And if you want to have the tea blend that was shared in the podcast today, then be sure to check out capebretontea.ca. Have a wonderful day.